Smiley from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Friday, July 14th. So the moon is in Gemini all day, which of course is going to open up our heart and head to a lot of processing, to a lot of questions, to a lot of plans, a lot of strategies, a lot of variables, a lot of different scenarios that we really need to play pretend with in order to figure out how it is that we think, how it is that we feel about certain directions that we may be contemplating taking. We are definitely curious. We are more extroverted than usual. And for many of us, we have a lot of aha moments, a lot of moments of inspiration really pop off in our social exchanges, in our interactions with the outside world. There are 12 different aspects here today. 9 of them are going to involve the moon. The moon is going to make an interaction with Jupiter, the planet of growth and expansion, beliefs, abundance, and blessings in this Taurus energy for the next year or so, providing us with a beautiful opportunity to create something new, especially where our physical realms are concerned, where our self-worth, our self-confidence is concerned, where routines, relationships, money matters are concerned. We are definitely looking to strengthen and stabilize what is working and create, bring to life, give birth to the elements that haven't been working, and of course coming up with an alternative in order to fill that space. The moon interacting with Jupiter in this way is a beautiful energy for us to kind of think big, for us to have the optimistic, confident point of view on some of the ideas that we are circulating and processing in our mental plane. We are feeling a little bit like we are able to accomplish anything that we set our mind to. And of course, we tend to bite off more than we can chew with the Jupiter energy, but nonetheless, we are exploring different scenarios, different variables, different ways of going about things, all in the name of progress and transformation. The sun in this Cancer energy is going to be making an interaction with Saturn. So Saturn's the Lord of Karma. He rules over roles, responsibilities, structures, foundations, systems, and this particular interaction is going to feel a little bit heavy, a little bit weighted. This is a challenging aspect, if you will, definitely opening us up, really pointing to where it is that we're hypersensitive, where it is that we're very defensive and protective over our emotions, where it is that we are feeling a little bit vulnerable and a little bit, I'm going to say, standoffish, if you will. Now, the reason why is because we kind of get in our own headspace and we start judging ourselves based off of the way that we think that we're being perceived by other people when it comes to the changes, the transformations that we're looking to make, how it is that we are looking to make some progress, especially where our new ideas are concerned. So this is definitely going to trigger a lot of mental pressure, mental anxiety, and this is going to interfere with us thinking logically and practically about the choices that we currently have on our plate, the opportunities that we're looking to create, and definitely throw a wrench in some of our exchanges. Communication is likely going to be a slippery slope. So there's a lot of restriction here. That is what Saturn does, is he blocks us, he challenges us, he puts a little bit of restriction on us so that we're not biting off more than we can chew. But the mental blocks don't feel good. We have a desire to move on. We have a desire to actually want to create something stable, something enjoyful in our lives. Joyful, I should say. I really messed that word up. And we're looking to kind of, create this realm, this reality that is looking just as good as it feels. And for many of us, we haven't had that experience thus far because we've been building our circumstances based off of ego. And here we are going through an identity shift, an identity crisis. And now we are being pushed and forced into having to align with our higher self and recreate a reality, routines, relationships, money matters, resources, just overall stability in our physical realms, where it's more in alignment with our higher selves than our egoic selves. So the desire that we have to have fun, to create a world that feels good, that looks good, is also kind of at odds with our goals, because our ego is what sets goals for ourselves. We want to reach that new level of income. We want to be able to afford those possessions. We want to reach our goals, our dreams, our visions, but that is an egoic based program. Our higher selves just want us to be in the alignment of enjoying ourselves, of really tapping into life's little luxuries. So we are seeing a little bit of an opposition, a clash with these particular energies within us. And it's definitely going to throw a wrench into some of the ideas, some of the plans that we've had, some of the confidence that we've been trying to build. So there is this element where, Saturn wants us to push, make something, create something, change something, transform something, little bits and baby steps at a time, while our higher self is like, you know what? You just need to accept the here and now and find as much joy and pleasure as you possibly can in the circumstances in which you've already created. So there is this back and forth ebb and flow that we will definitely be experiencing. And for the most part, it starts off not feeling so great. It will end in epiphanies, in aha moments, in a new path, plan, and direction. The moon goes ahead, interacts with Pluto, the great transformer himself, who is retrograde in this Capricorn energy. And this is definitely going to shake us up in our mental plane, in our heart space. Pluto's whole guise, his whole motive is to be able to illuminate the power struggles, illuminate the roles and responsibilities that we've outgrown, illuminate the pain, illuminate the struggle in order for us to empower ourselves to overcome these things. And in the Capricorn energy, again, this is our second attempt at trying to break free from some of the restrictions, some of the limitations that we've been fighting to get away from. And with the moon in Gemini, again, we're kind of rapidly processing the pros and cons of each different variable, each different angle. And Plutonian energy likes to deal with the psyche, while the Gemini energy likes to deal with the mental plane. Two very different things. The mental plane is egoically trying to piece together the information, the data, the details of our here and now. Our psyche is where the old programming and conditioning is alive and well. So we are attempting to shift the narrative, shift our perspective, shift our understanding, shift our emotions. And we tend to do that by sitting in the funk, beating ourselves down, breaking ourselves apart in order for us to build ourselves up in a much more empowering kind of way. The moon is going to make a positive interaction with Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, in the heart and soul of the zodiac, in this Leo energy, as she is slowing down, preparing to go retrograde on the 22nd. This is us kind of realizing where it is that our values are changing, where it is that our priorities are changing, where it is that we're having a change of heart or seeing our relationships from a different set of eyes. We're recognizing where it is that we don't feel safe, secure, fulfilled. We're recognizing where it is that we do feel those things and stabilizing them, strengthening those particular connections. But realistically speaking, we're moving into a retrograde. This is a fallout. This is a purge. This is a release. This is a reorganizing, restructuring of who and what brings us happiness and joy, safety, security, and stability. And right now, even though this is a positive interaction, we are mentally processing, emotionally processing who and what is not cutting it, who and what is not doing it for us anymore. And from that, we are starting to build what it is that we need from these people, what it is that we need to ask for, what it is we have to advocate, where it is that we have to try our luck in kind of balancing out these energy exchanges. And all of it comes down to boundaries. The moon is then going to semi-square the north node, the true node, if you will, in this Taurus energy. And of course, the north node is trying to get us on the right path, on the right direction. We're in the final degrees here of having the Taurus and Scorpio axis alive and well. Of course, for the last 18 months, Venus has kind of been leading this particular journey while we are letting go of some of the Mars energy. Of course, Venus ruling over the Taurus energy that the north node is in, Mars ruling over, and Pluto over the Scorpio energy that the south node is in. When we shift into the Aries and Libran axis, which will take place on the 17th, we are going to see those particular rulerships switch signs. So Aries will be the north node, which Mars rules over, and Libran energy will be the south node that Venus rules over. So there is going to be a shifting of dynamic, amplifying the discontentment, I guess, that we have been illuminated to, especially in our personal relationships as of late, and seeing as, Mars just moved on, leaving the feminine divine goddess Venus herself in the dust as he moved into Virgo energy and she continued to stay in Leo energy. There's definitely going to be a huge divide, a huge illumination, if you will, on what isn't so happy, what isn't jiving, where it is that we need to pull away from the old, really put a lot of energy into building the new, especially where our relationships are concerned. But this semi-square, this little tension point, this means that our heart and our head are not in alignment with the steps that we feel like we need to take, or being able to identify the steps that we need to take in order to kind of close the door on some of the situations and circumstances that we've already identified, we've outgrown, and therefore move on to new connections, new storylines, new soul contracts. Mercury, ruler of the mental plane, ruler of information, communication, and how it is that we express ourselves, who of course is in this Leo energy, doing a deep dive in our inner child healing or in our deep egoic programming roots. Mercury is going to be making an interaction with Saturn. And of course, Saturn is retrograde in this Pisces energy. This is why communication is going to be challenged. This is why there's going to be maybe some information and details that we somehow scan over, somehow miss, somehow realize that, wow, we're missing very important pieces of the puzzle here. We can't really continue to try and build this puzzle and see what the dream and the vision, what the end goal is supposed to be, realizing that we're missing all of these very important puzzle pieces. So this is really going to block us, challenge us, restrict us from making too many moves forward, especially in the mental plane. And keep in mind that Leo energy that Mercury is in is very grand, very big, very confident, very optimistic. And Saturn likes to come in and kind of squash that egoic confidence down a little bit, just so that we don't take on more than we can handle, so that we don't bite off more than we can chew. The moon is going to sextile, beautiful energy, blending of energy with Chiron, the wounded healer, in this Aries energy, really pushing all of us into this identity crisis, into this rebranding chapter, into this self-discovery process. The moon, making this positive interaction with Chiron, is opening up our heart and head to see where it is that we are moving away from the old parts of self, the old version of self, the old circumstances that the old self created. We are recognizing where it is that we are growing through, what it is that we are going through, where it is that we are healing the wounds now that we are feeling the wounds. And we are essentially bossing up. We're tapping into a new level of our warrior spirit in order for us to kind of truck on, to push through some of the blockages, some of the obstacles that we know that we're going to face in attempt of bringing this new version of self, these new circumstances to life. But this is a overall boost in the right direction of seeing some progress, seeing where it is that we are really willing to throw ourselves out into new territory in order to kind of discover new parts of self that will never be triggered and activated if we stay in the same old circumstance. The sun is then going to sextile Uranus. This is a beautiful energy for a couple of reasons. Keep in mind that the sun in Cancer energy is shining a bright light on what it is that we have to focus on. The sun is our life force energy. The Cancer energy is the mothering, nurturing energy of the zodiac. We are focused on what it is that we have to do as far as creating and implementing boundaries in our life for us to kind of stabilize the foundation of how it is that we're taking care of ourselves, of our loved ones, where it is that we have to build a brand new foundation in order for us to put ourselves first. Uranus, he's the great awakener. He likes to shock us. He likes to throw curveballs at us. He likes to disrupt the old in order for us to be open enough to adopt the new. And so what this particular interaction is doing is it's showing us where it is that progress has been had and where more progress is needed. This opens us up. We're more willing to change. We're more willing to improve, to do better. We are tapping into new levels of intelligence where new ideas, new inspirations are really pushing us in a very, very different direction. And instead of being nervous and anxiety filled, putting ourselves in unfamiliar situations, it kind of excites us in order to actually do that. So we are definitely kind of moving out of the funk that Saturn kind of created earlier in the day. And we're kind of getting hyped up, if you will, about what is possible for us when we abandon some of the limiting situations that, of course, Saturn should have illuminated to us. The moon is then going to interact with Mars. Mars, of course, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desire in this Virgo energy now. Very grounded, very focused on the here and now, very focused on the physical realm, the physical body, the physical circumstances, identifying what isn't working, what is broken, what is wounded. Why? Because Virgo energy needs to heal it. We're the problem solvers, we're the healers of the zodiac in this Virgo energy. And Mars, who wants us to take action, make moves in our physical realm to clean up the mess of the past so that we have a clean slate to start building elements of the future upon. The moon interacting with Mars in this way is very interesting because the Gemini energy that the moon is in and Virgo energy that Mars is in, they're both ruled over by Mercury, the ruler of the mental plane. So emotionally speaking and mentally speaking, we're trying to get in alignment. We're identifying the actions, the plan, the strategy needed in order to address some of the concerns that we're being illuminated to on some of the elements that haven't been working, that haven't been feeling good. And although we're not in a time of full forced energy of taking action and making moves as of right now, we are definitely planning and strategizing, which Virgo energy needs us to do. We cannot make any kind of move that hasn't been already previously calculated and carefully thought through. And so this particular interaction is definitely opening up our mind, showing us the right path, showing us where our time, energy, and attention is needed in order for us to address some of the blips, some of the obstacles, some of the challenges, some of the broken parts of our physical realm circumstances that we need to clean up before we can go ahead and move on. The moon is going to then interact with Uranus and then interact with the sun. As you know, the sun and Uranus just had this beautiful interaction, pushing us for change, pushing us for progress, opening up our mind, making us easily more adaptable to change and transformation than we've been. But the moon now is going to have some questions. The moon wants us to get heart and head aligned. And right now we're starting to kind of process through some of the higher realm ideas, inspirations, aha moments, epiphanies that are being sparked by this Uranian energy. When the moon interacts with the sun, it's like an overlap between where it is that we're coming from and where it is that we're desiring to go. And what we're left with is this present moment where we have decisions to make, where we have choices to make, where we have a path and a plan and a strategy to start initiating. And so the sun shining a bright light in this Cancer energy on what it is that we have to build and enforce and create and stabilize. The moon in this Gemini energy is showing us the pros and cons of both situations, of both alternatives, of both circumstances. You know, the Gemini energy is the twins. We have 1 foot in the ego, 1 foot in the higher self. We have 1 foot in our inner realm, 1 foot in the outer realm. And we constantly have to kind of go back with these dualistic, polarized types of ideas in order for us to find a middle common ground. The last thing that we got going on here today is the moon semi-squaring with the ruler of the moon's energy, Mercury, who happens to be in the heart and soul of the zodiac. This is a semi-square. This creates tension and conflict. This isn't going to feel good. It's going to illuminate where our heart and our head still are not in agreement. And a lot of that is because the moon being in Gemini energy has us very divided, has us very, very much kind of contemplating the pros and cons of everything, while Mercury being in the Leo energy is only aligned with the heart space, only aligned with what kind of feels good, what feels like a heart and soul calling and passion project. It feels like the big ideas, the big path, the big direction, the big goal, the big dream, the big vision that we are contemplating, we still have a lot of details to work through before we can get on board with some of those ideas, with some of those actions. And that is where the moon in Gemini is kind of creating this hesitation, this restriction, this blockage, this tension, this conflict, in order for us to realize that we still have more thinking and feeling to do before we go ahead, take action on bringing some of these ideas to life.